All right, we're here with Jared Solomon, state rep for the 202nd district in Northeast Philadelphia. He has been in office for 4 terms now, right? Am I getting that? Yeah.
Yes, it's 2017.
Okay, great. And you are running for AG as of 2 days ago.
Yesterday, yes. Attorney
Yesterday. Yeah,
General, we just
sorry.
announced in Northeast Philadelphia, where I grew up, where I was raised by a single mom, above my great-grandparents' butcher shop, and it was a perfect moment in the most diverse community in the whole Commonwealth to announce with the actual on a rec center where we've done the work that I will continue as Attorney General, which is investing in our communities to make safe, thriving neighborhoods with opportunities for all Pennsylvanians.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a bunch of different topics I want to hit with you, but let's start here. You took down Mark Cohen in 2016. You've held the 202nd district unopposed since then. Why is this now the time to seek higher office?
So I'm very proud of the record, and
Yeah.
the run for Attorney General flows right from that, Jared. So
Yeah.
in my work of investing in communities, creating safer, thriving neighborhoods with opportunities for all Pennsylvanians, I want to do that throughout the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
And we created a model here in Northeast Philadelphia that works, which is investment in community in partnership with neighbors, nonprofits, the business community, can reimagine, rework, and redefine what a community is. We took a neighborhood in Northeast Philly that had been left behind, that had been forgotten, where crime was on the rise and opportunity was plummeting. And we turned it around with key investments, brought back the business corridors, lit up the neighborhood with new lighting, removed the trash. And that type of investment is the type of investment that all communities across the Commonwealth want. People want to feel pride in their neighborhoods. And the more and more I travel around the Commonwealth, the more that the Northeast Philly story is the Pennsylvania story. Communities that have been left behind, that don't have a voice. And if we invest in those communities, we give them a voice, and we create a sense of community pride. And that kind of Pennsylvania pride is what we need to spread throughout our whole Commonwealth.
That makes sense. So the Democratic side of this field already has 3 candidates. You guys all have similar positions and priorities relating to abortion, voting, corruption, crime. How do you plan to stand out?
Sure. So it's good to have a crowded field. It's good, healthy for democracy to have ideas and debate over who should be our next Attorney General. The way I stand out is around my work ethic of relentlessly pursuing results for my community, which is exactly what I'll do as Attorney General. But also, it's a record of standing up to special interests. The biggest threat that I faced in my neighborhood to the work that I was doing was the outsized impact of special interests. Just one example, a community park in my neighborhood used to be a blighted property. It was a blighted property because there was a contractor who didn't want to take their trash and properly throw it away and dispose of it. So there was trash. It became overgrown with grass, drug activity in and around this park. We brought a partnership together, neighbors, nonprofit, business, injection of state resources from my office, and we created a beautiful new sparkling community park. Crime went down by 37% overnight. Opportunity went up. So it's not just the results of investing and creating a safer, thriving neighborhood. It's also the work of pushing back against those who are trying to take our communities in a negative direction. The schemers, the scammers, the bullies in society. And I want to be that voice to push back against those folks at every turn.
Makes sense. You announced in September, almost 3 months after the other Democratic candidates. Why did you wait? And how will you now approach a race that will, if you win the primary, will end up lasting longer than a year?
I don't know that politics plays well over the summer. I think people have
Fair point.
as much as I'm consumed by civic engagement, people have other things to do. There are people who are working hard, they're raising families, they're on vacation, they're at camp. And I wanted to make sure that we captured the right moment. And I think we did, where folks were tuned in, where people were ready to embrace this new dynamic message that we're bringing into the race. I think we got it right. We have great momentum, and now we're ready to hit the road and take this message throughout the whole state.
I let you have your summer. That should be your campaign slogan.
That's right. Maybe that'll garner me more support. Exactly.
I think you'll win if you say that.
I know a lot of people who would agree with you.
Okay, so I want to get into a little bit of what you might do if you were to win next November. So you have said that you want to protect people's fundamental rights and make PA communities safe and open for all. How will you use the legal authority of the state of Pennsylvania to do that?
Yeah, so it's such an important role and function of the Attorney General's office is consumer protection.
Yeah.
And when I talk about the outsized impact of special interests, the bullies, schemers, scammers, let's boil that down to neighborhoods, not just the abstract of consumer protection. Mm-hmm. In order to really have safe communities, we need to protect our citizens from these outside impacts, these corporations and interests that are more concerned about their bottom line than taking care of neighborhoods. Think about these in our communities right now. I gave you one example, Jared, about the contractor who doesn't want to do the right thing in their neighborhood and properly take their contract materials. They just want to dump it because they don't care about our communities. What about those who go door to door in my neighborhood, pose as utility agencies and sign my constituents up, our seniors, our unsuspecting seniors, and then these same fraudsters then jack up the rates for our seniors by almost 20%. These are gun manufacturers who allow guns to get in the wrong hands. These are landlords, and this is an issue that I get a lot of sympathy throughout the state. Landlords have especially the corporate entities who have properties in our Commonwealth, they have a duty to ensure that they're taken care of. But a lot of them hide. They hide behind the P.O. box. So they're in Maryland, New York, New Jersey, and we can't get in touch with them. No phone number, no email, a P.O. box. And they are not taking care of our community. They're not invested in our neighborhood. Well, what the Attorney General can do, and I would do immediately when I was elected, is say, here is the state of play. You either help and improve our community, or I'm going to come after you with the full weight of my office. You make the decision. That's a powerful message. And for those special interests who are not willing to play by the rules of the road, I'm going to come after them and protect our most vulnerable in our communities.
You mentioned on your campaign website that crime went down 37% in the park that you also mentioned earlier in this conversation. I think you called it We Love You Park in Northeast Philadelphia. Is that what it's called now? Yeah,
it is.
So you mentioned the crime went down 37% after you helped clean it up and renovate it. That's really the only specific accomplishment that I see from your political career on your website. So what are some others that you'd like to mention to our readers and to our viewers?
Sure. Let's look at, in terms of investment and the type of investment that we need to see throughout our communities and what really drives a reduction in crime. We brought placemaking properties back to our neighborhood. We got a top of the line mental health provider through state grants and a partnership to come on our business corridors. We were able to move the new police district right next door. So now we have teams working together, addressing not only police issues, but when police identify, for instance, as someone who's presenting with a mental health issue, they're partnered right there. Literally, they're physically right next to one another. So they can work in concert to make sure that that person who has mental health issues gets the help they need right in the neighborhood in Northeast Philadelphia. We were able to reimagine our business corridors and bring a business corridor manager who took care of the facade, the aesthetic of the neighborhood, brought banners to the neighborhood, creating that nice look and feel. We were able to get a professional cleaning team for our main business corridors to clean up the trash. We were also able to get new big belly trash cans that also reflected that nice aesthetic on our banners on our corridor. These are, if you look at any particular one, someone might say, well, you got new trash cans or you got banners. What is the big deal here? Well, what neighbors tell me is the big deal is that people began to see changes in their neighborhood. They began to believe again about their community, that things could work, that government can do really important things and change the narrative of a neighborhood. And that's the sense we're getting in Northeast Philly. And imagine if we had that sense of pride throughout our whole Commonwealth. These are just a few more examples of the work we've doing. We could also talk about the importance of rec centers. We've rebuilt a number of rec centers in my neighborhood, which allows for families to come and bring their kids, allows for friendships to be formed, really good activities, allows for sports as an after school and summer activity. For instance, legacy tennis at a couple of our rec centers to provide an outlet for kids to do something after school and over the summer. We build community by investing. We build community by creating partnerships that really can transform neighborhoods and do really positive things.
Mm-hmm. So the Jewish Exponent covered Josh Shapiro's run for governor in 2021 and 2022. His approach was so successful that it appears to be informing your campaign now as well in some ways. You're focusing on both protecting fundamental rights and making communities safer. You're talking about taking on corruption. And Tina Davis, one of the state reps who endorsed you, even said that you had a history of taking on big fights, which was literally the phrase that Shapiro always used. You're also touting endorsements from, as your campaign put it in your announcement email, a geographically diverse range of districts, from progressive cities to battleground suburbs to rural communities. You seem to think that the Shapiro playbook can work for you too in some ways. Was this a conscious choice or did it just happen naturally?
Well, I think that if you look not just at what Governor Shapiro said when he was running for Attorney General, but what he actually did. He did take on the big fights. In fact, he's taken on the big fights when he was a state rep, when he was a commissioner, and then as AG and now as governor. So I think people in our political system are tired of just posturing and rhetoric. They want results. That was key in what our governor did in fixing 95. There was a problem, it was fixed. There wasn't a blue ribbon commission, there wasn't a work group, it was just fixed. That approach of not just saying the words, but meaning them in carrying them through in the actions I take. The really differential about my candidacy is that I've already done this. You can look at all the work I've done and say, here's what I've done to create a better, thriving, safe neighborhood in Northeast Philadelphia. Do you want this in your community, in urban centers, in suburban areas, in rural Pennsylvania? And what I'm hearing from Pennsylvanians is absolutely we do. We want that approach because that's what brings back community pride. That's what really restores faith in our neighborhoods across the Commonwealth.
Makes sense. All right. So you are Jewish. You are always willing to talk about Jewish issues, like moving the primary from the Passover date next year. But Judaism does not feature prominently in your campaign announcement or on your website. So how do you plan to wield it in this campaign, if at all?
I think that being Jewish is who I am.
Yeah.
It it is key to my family life. It was key to my upbringing, and I think a couple things to note there. Broadly, there are two main facets, I think, about being Jewish. There is the practice of it, which I take very seriously, carrying through the mitzvot. Not that I get them all, but I certainly always try to do better. I think that's what we all want to do, is do better in terms of our practice, our faith. And then there's the part of Judaism that commands us to do better, not just in the practice, but in what we do in this world. And I also take that part of our faith seriously, that I endeavor to be a better person, but also in my interpersonal skills, in the changes that I want to see in our community, in Northeast Philadelphia, in our city, in our state, in our nation and world. That is what we are commanded to do as Jews. And one of the beautiful things about our faith is that it is truly based in this world. We're not always looking to the world beyond. We are focused here, in the here and now, about doing good here. And that is so refreshing and empowering. And it's something I think about a lot.
Yeah. So you just answered this question in many ways, but what does your Judaism mean to you in your private life? Which values speak to you the most? Can't say tikkun olam. And how do you practice?
Yeah. As I say, and I won't say tikkun olam.
You can say it if
I
it really.
won't. No, I won't. I definitely won't. I think that if you look at, I really had a very interesting journey with being Jewish. I was
Yeah.
raised in part by my great grandparents. As we've mentioned, my mom raised me above their kosher butcher shop. They were very religious, kind of a modern Orthodox.
Yeah.
And so I had that Orthodox sense of more strict observance. My mom, I would say, sort of straddled between being reform and conservative. But I would, for her and her parents, we always hear this phrase, right? Being culturally Jewish.
Yeah.
Their Jewish identity was important, but the practice was not as important to them in their daily lives.
Right.
So I kind of had all of these component parts. And interestingly enough, my Hebrew teacher, who was a few blocks away from me, was Orthodox, and I was bar mitzvah in an Orthodox synagogue. So I think all of this came together to really appreciate Judaism on many different levels. And I think my practice, my faith, my belief is sort of an interplay of many of those. I was very lucky having that background because I think it really was able to influence my practice now.
Makes sense. Thanks, Jared. Really appreciate you taking the time today.
That's all you got?
That's all I got. That wasn't enough.
No, it's great. I love
We
this.
can let you talk about Tikkun Olam for a few minutes if you want.
I always got stuff on Tikkun. Garrett, thank you so much. It's great to